morning, everyone. My name is Myka Kennedy-Stevens. I'm the Seminary Librarian at Lancaster Theological Seminary in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I want to start off by giving you kind of an overview of where we're going to go for the next 45 minutes. I'll talk to you a little bit about SubjectsPlus for those of you who have never heard about it before. I'll give you kind of a general overview of what it looks like and what it can do. Then I will show you how we're currently displaying content from Koha in SubjectsPlus, and then also how we can display content from SubjectsPlus in Koha. And then we'll close with a time of discussion and brainstorming. So I really want to try to generate some conversation and some ideas about how we can make the sharing of content between these two open source platforms a little bit easier and a little bit more robust. So, starting off, what is SubjectsPlus? How many of you have heard of SubjectsPlus already? Wow, only a few of you. Okay, so SubjectsPlus, how many of you have heard of LibGuides? Right, okay, that's marketing right there. So SubjectsPlus is an open source alternative, better solution, to SpringShare's LibGuides. It not only can be a way to produce, publish library guides, but it can also act as a content management system for all sorts of other type of content that your library might be generating. Some of the out-of-the-box features include the basic research guides setup that you might be most familiar with in a LibGuides product. It has drag and drop content boxes. Different divisions of the guide are displayed as tabs on the screen. It also supports a staff listing directory. It has a resource list, which can display your A to Z databases, and it can be sorted by type of resource as well. It has a frequently asked questions module. So you can create a database of all the frequently asked questions that your library receives. You can tag them to different guides so that they automatically populate when you put that in your guide. There's a feedback and talkback system where your users can actually put in, submit questions or submit comments about your library. You moderate those in the back end, and then they can be displayed publicly. There's also a video management capability where if you are publishing your videos, instructional videos, tutorials, things like that with YouTube or Vimeo, you can bring all of those, save those links in SubjectsPlus, and even pull them up on one channel page, if you will, or a library page of all of your different videos, so that your users don't have to go to YouTube first and be subject to all of that advertising. This is what our SubjectsPlus instance looks like. This is a guide, it's a screenshot of our guide that we use to kind of introduce or orient people to our library. So you can see the tabs across the top, and in each one of these boxes that has the yellow header, these are the different drag and drop content boxes. The one kind of down here in the lower left is a video. So that's how embedded videos show up as well. There are some features in SubjectsPlus that do require some customization. So I will tell you right now, the out-of-the-box design theme, that's a theme. Words are escaping me this morning, it's too early. The out-of-the-box theme is not very pretty, so just warning you there. You'll need to know some CSS to be able to tweak it and customize it to your library's brand guidelines. And those tweaks are done at the code level in the actual CSS file. There's not really much a place in the back end of the platform to put in those customizations. There is an installer and updater that's included with it. And sometimes it works and sometimes it's a little buggy. It comes with an API capability, and I'm going to go into this in more detail in a little bit. But the API, when you're deploying the API on another site, that requires a bit of coding and customization as well, so that you make sure your content is displaying like you want it to. And also, they use what's called, they call it pluslet system. So each one of those boxes that you saw in the screenshot before, those are called pluslets. And each pluslet can be customized within the software, within the back end, but there's also capability of developing your own pluslets or customizing the pluslets that already come with the platform. So that's another opportunity to customize there. So the development status of this project, SubjectsPlus, has actually been around for a number of years. We adapted it in the summer of 2015, but it had been around for 5, 6, 7 years before that. The primary development team is at the University of Miami Libraries, headed by Andrew Darby. And so this is the team that is pretty much doing the bulk of the development. There is some community involvement through a Google group, but all of the development is happening with this team of about 3 developers / librarians at the University of Miami Libraries. I reached out to Andrew before I came to give this presentation and asked him, so what's going on with SubjectsPlus? What are your plans for the future? And so he told me that the general roadmap for the foreseeable future is 2 avenues of development. One has the code name of SPLux, which is an initiative to improve the theming and make a nicer default theme, because really, the theme that it comes with is not pretty at all. And then the second avenue of development has a code name SPGuts, and that is to rehaul the underlying architecture in the platform, in the system. There's so much JavaScript that's in the platform that it's beginning to crash in upon itself. So they're looking at moving to a JavaScript framework and cleaning everything up and streamlining it. So he hopes to be able to spend some time in October thinking about how kind of project planning this out a bit so that they have some better guidelines. And they'll be reaching out to the community for kind of what our priorities are. So this is a great time to get involved with this, you know, since they're kind of at this transitional moment. So where to find SubjectsPlus? Here are some links for you. Their main site is subjectsplus.com. There's also a wiki that has all of the documentation, and documentation is a little on the thin side. So there's opportunity to help with writing documentation. And their GitHub page is also here on the screen. If you're thinking about installing SubjectsPlus and playing around with it, I do have this one tip from Andrew Darby that I thought was worth sharing. He suggests installing the code base via Git. If possible, there might be some short-term pain, but it would make updating less painful. The last formal release of SubjectsPlus is over a year old now, so most of the newer developments are just right there in the Git. So if you can install via the Git, that would be great. Don't ask me how to do it though, because I haven't done it yet. All right, so let's talk about how we can display Koha content in SubjectsPlus. So SubjectsPlus, out of the box, has this feature, just basic, blank, free text, pluslet, little box. You can bring up a text editor, and right in the text editor, there is a little book with a plus sign. And that allows you to link to catalog records. You can link to subject headings, keyword search results, call numbers, and bib records. So it makes it very, very easy if you know what information you're trying to grab from Koha. Makes it very, very easy to just put that term, keyword or call number or your bib number, right into this form here, and then it will create an auto link. It's able to do that because you can set up your base URL strings in the configuration panel for SubjectsPlus. And so some of you may already know these strings by heart, but these are the basic strings for Koha. If you're going to link open string in the SubjectsPlus settings, is actually for the subject search, subject heading search. And then open string keyword, call number, and bib. These are the basic URLs that you would use to set up, to link your catalog with SubjectsPlus. There is also an RSS feed pluslet in SubjectsPlus. And so since Koha has RSS feed streams, it publishes RSS feeds from searches as well as from public lists, you can use this feature to pull in content dynamically from Koha. So basically all you would do is you would drag and drop your RSS pluslet into your guide that you're building. You go into Koha, you do your search, or you pull up your public list, you grab the RSS feed URL, and you paste it into your pluslet and save it. I have noticed, however, and I don't know if this is a universal thing with Koha or if it's just our instance of Koha, RSS feeds from searches display differently from RSS feeds of public lists. So the RSS feed from the search, you can get a little image as well as some information about it. You also get a link to place a hold for the item. But if you're displaying feed from a public list, it's just a list of titles. I'm certain that there is some additional CSS styling that one could do in the theme to make this look a little bit prettier. I have not done that yet. So that's what it looks like out of the box. So these are just some ideas for further development that I have in using, trying to bring Koha content into SubjectsPlus. Again, knowing that we're at the end, there will have to be some time for discussion and more brainstorming. Perhaps some of you can help me build on some of these ideas, but there does seem to be a need and an opportunity to create some customizable pluslets for Koha libraries. So, for example, a catalog search pluslet. There are already some pluslets for various different kinds of searches that are available in SubjectsPlus. One for WorldCat, one for, I think there's some, I think it's a summon integration that they've already done because that was what they were using at the University of Miami. So it would be pretty easy to take one of those pluslets that's already been written and adapt it for Koha libraries. Also, I think maybe a customizable pluslet that's just for Koha RSS feeds, so that whatever custom CSS you want to use for Koha RSS feeds won't then impact RSS feeds that you're getting from other sites, because if the RSS pluslet is something that you're going to use to bring in content from a news aggregator or a blog or some other site, you might not want the same CSS to apply to all of those. So maybe a particular Koha RSS pluslet. Also, because I'm in an academic setting, I use these guides a lot for courses. I create course guides for the various different courses offered at my school. And one of the very first things that I do is I link to the course reserves for that course. And right now, it's just a simple link. But I think it would be really awesome if I could display Koha course reserves dynamically within the guide. so that the students can see call numbers as well as availability if it's checked out or not. There are basic guidelines available in the SubjectsPlus wiki on how to create custom pluslets. So look there if you're interested. So next I'll talk about how we can bring SubjectsPlus content into Koha. So after explaining all of the different ways that you can bring Koha content into SubjectsPlus, and of course if you spend a lot of time creating your design and your theming for SubjectsPlus, you might be saying, well, why go to the trouble of then taking SubjectsPlus content and putting it into Koha? Well, for me, it's about consistent branding and styling, as well as a streamlined user experience. So right now, even with the work that I've done on the SubjectsPlus platform, trying to make it look like it goes with Koha, it's still a different platform. It has a different URL, and the students, you can tell when you're switching from Koha to SubjectsPlus. When you're displaying SubjectsPlus content within Koha, you've got kind of that more streamlined, you're staying in one place. It also makes it easier to jump back into the catalog to do searches or to go somewhere else, look up something in the patron account, etc. Another reason that I find very compelling to bring SubjectsPlus content into Koha is to really capitalize on the authentication pathways that we have running through our Koha system. So we are an EDS library. We also have Open Athens. And our Open Athens authentication runs through the Koha login. So one of our students needs to log into their library account to authenticate with Open Athens before they can access and get results, accurate search results from EBSCO Discovery Service, as well as any of our databases or electronic subscriptions. So for SubjectsPlus to be a place where we have our A to Z listing of all of our electronic resources, it makes it a whole lot easier if they can log in quickly rather than, when they see that list, rather than go to the guides, click on a link to a database, realize, oops, I didn't log in, be redirected back to Koha, then have to go back to the list of databases in SubjectsPlus to start that journey all over again. So for me, I feel like it's again, that streamlined user experience and better access to authentication pathways. So SubjectsPlus has an API, and this is what I began to explore over the last 6 months. How can I use this API to bring content from SubjectsPlus into Koha? So the SubjectsPlus API, generates a unique API security key. You find that in the SubjectsPlus configuration page. It outputs queries both as XML and JSON, and it can query the guides, databases, the staff listings, and the talkback. Their documentation about the API says that support for querying the frequently asked questions is coming soon, whatever that means. So, to bring the API into SubjectsPlus, here's what I did. And you're not going to be able to see this sitting way back in the back. I'm very sorry, but my slides are online on my blog. I'll give you the address at the end so you can consult this, or you can also email me for the code. But what I did was I went into the local use tab in Koha administration and created a system preference called page. This one is for our A to Z listing of databases and e-resources. So I call it page_e-resources. And in the value for that system preference, I put in this code. It took me about 6 tries to get it right. So I'm happy to share it with you so that you don't have to try multiple times to make it work. Basically, it's JavaScript where I had to suppress the news and the RSS feed for the news at the top. That's the first bit. Then I gave it a header and also a reminder. You have to log in to use these links for the resources. And then created a section, you know, a place to put all of the content, and then here's the script that actually calls on the API. It makes a request and gets the request, and then displays the databases. I have it showing just the name of the display, as well as the note of the display of the database. So it's displaying the name of the database and the note that I have associated with that in the SubjectsPlus record. And this is what it looks like. So this is our OPAC page for databases and e-resources. Again, very simple. There's opportunities there for additional CSS styling. After 6 tries, just trying to get the API to display correctly, I thought this was good enough to be done. So that was where I stopped. But one day, maybe I'll come back to it. So thinking back again on this conundrum, right, of trying to connect course reserves with course guides, there is a way that you can do this using the public note field in the course reserves module. So you can see here, there's a screenshot of the edit course settings. We saw a little bit about this yesterday. In the public note field, you can just put an A tag with the href URL going to the course guide for that course. But again, this is something manual that you would have to do for every course. And so I'm at a small school and we only have, you know, I don't know, a dozen, 2 dozen courses running at a time. So for me, putting in, you know, 12, 18, 20 links is not that big of a deal. But for those of you who might be at larger universities, trying to do this for every guide will get tedious. The public note then displays on the course reserve page as a note. So you can see my little link there if you squint. Again, there might be some CSS styling on the, like on the OPAC reserve CSS to make that pop a little more. I haven't had a chance to work on that yet. So this is what we have. So some ideas for further development to help bring SubjectsPlus content into Koha that I think would be really cool. Most of it is kind of leveraging that plugin system that we learned about some yesterday. So wouldn't it be great if there was a plugin that would allow us to create pages from the SubjectsPlus API? So where you don't have to write all of that script and create all of those pages manually in the administration settings. If there was a plugin that already had some base code in it, and then you could just pick and choose the different elements that you want to display and how they would display, and then the plugin would generate the page for you. I think it also might be helpful to have a guides search widget somewhere on the site. So even if there was a way to kind of integrate it with the single search box up at the top, where you can choose to search the catalog and you can choose to search guides, and then type in some keyword headings, and then the results would populate from the API from the guides. If we could somehow figure out a way to do either make an additional field in the course reserves module or a plugin that would help make cross-linking between course reserves and the course guides and SubjectsPlus a little easier, I think that would make that very helpful to those in academia. And also, this is the real pie in the sky kind of wish list item, is if there would be a way to actually, in course reserves, when you go to a course, if there would be a way to display that tagged content from SubjectsPlus right there on the course reserves page. So you've got your reserves for the the course, and then you have either the tabs on the left side of the screen or maybe underneath so that you can see actual content or links to content that then takes you out to SubjectsPlus. So those are my ideas and how we use SubjectsPlus. So we've got about 15 minutes here. If anybody else has some ideas or questions or thoughts that they want to share, we're taking notes to send our discussion to the developers at University of Miami Libraries because they're very interested to hear what we all think about this.
Hello, yeah, all right, I feel like a rock star. Here. No, really, I understand this is kind of a librarian question, but since you can create an ABC lists and things like that, what's the format for those? So can you what kind of fields are available, and can you have different descriptions for the databases and if there are some limits to access or things like that?
Yes. So when you're creating resources, they're called resources in SubjectsPlus. Basically, you can give it a name, you can give it a URL. You can add more than one URL for a resource. So for example, because we use Open Athens, but we also use IP authentication, so that people who are physically present in our library who may not have remote access or access through Open Athens can still access our resources when they're in the building. I have to create 2 different links for some of those resources. There's a note field. You can add tags to things. You can also classify them by type of resource. So if it's a magazine, or if it's a database, or if it's a website or a reference resource. And all of those tags they're already present in the back end, but it's not, you can customize what displays they're using the configuration settings. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Another one, since I'm coming from abroad, is it possible to translate the software, or does it already support multiple languages or localization?
According to their website, they support translation into French and Spanish. I'm not certain how many other translations are available. I've seen postings to the Google group that they use, for users of SubjectsPlus, that folks have been working on translations into other languages. So I don't know. You would have to go on either on that group page or into the GitHub page to see what other translations are available.
Well, knowing that it's possible is encouraging.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, so the question is, has anyone ever written a SubjectsPlus harvester, either using the API or MySQL dump? And my research into it has not turned up anything. So the code that I showed you of how I grabbed the e-resources from SubjectsPlus, I pretty much had to write that from scratch. The API documentation that's available for SubjectsPlus from the developers did not, basically it just gave you the string. Like here's the URL, here's where you make the API call. As far as like actually, scripting, coding the call itself, I had to do on my own. So not that I'm aware of, I don't know if anybody has done a harvest or written a harvester.
So, well, if you could automatically harvest the records, then you could automatically create records in Koha corresponding to whatever it is you wanted to extract from something else.
Possibly. I don't know if the databases can link in that way or not.
Well,
So I'm a librarian, I'm not a developer. At least not yet. I don't have the cred yet to be a developer.
You could automatically generate MARC records in Koha, which you could then import, pointing to SubjectsPlus content.
So basically creating MARC records for each guide, which would then make them searchable in the catalog. Exactly. Is that what you're saying? Okay. So that's an idea. So remember the microphones are off on the sides.
Yeah, they shouldn't put one so close to me. Well, first of all, thank you for providing me with another one of those ooh, neat moments. Yeah, you said you hadn't installed it from yet. How did you install it and how painful was it?
So the very first time I installed it, it's a funny story. I actually installed it behind Myka because I only had one web server and I didn't want to create another web server and wasn't even sure that I wanted to keep this. So I actually figured out how to install it behind Myka. And what I did was I installed the latest release and then used the installer to put it on the server. So then I migrated it over to its own server, and that wasn't terribly painful. I worked in a development environment. I used Cloud9 as my development environment so that I could work on the CSS and the styling of the site. So the documentation is very clear about which files you need to back up and which files you need to copy over if you're going to make design tweaks or any other kinds of customizations. So yeah, I think SubjectsPlus installations have actually gone a lot easier than other installations that I've done. So it's only broken a couple of times, which is pretty good. One of the things that I had to do to be able to get the API to work, the server that I had it installed on originally was not running, did not have a security certificate on it. So it was not an HTTPS site, it was just an HTTP site. And so one of the things that I discovered is that a lot of browsers will block displaying content. Our Koha site is an HTTPS site, and a lot of browsers will block content that's coming from non-HTTPS sites. So I had to install a security certificate on our SubjectsPlus server, which I did with the Let's Encrypt free certificates, which are awesome. And Larry helped me with that. Larry's the one who told me about it. So we do the Let's Encrypt certificates on that server. There was a little bit of pain trying to make it go from HTTP to HTTPS, and I probably don't think I have the redirect working right. So if you went to the guides will still show up if you go to http://guides.lancasterseminary.edu. That's my story, my journey. It wasn't that bad. But I did install. I downloaded the release from GitHub first, and then uploaded it to the server. So installing directly from Git, that's going to be a follow-up question I'm going to have for Andrew at some point, because we're going to be doing updates in December. December is a quiet month for us, so that's when I'm going to be updating our systems. And so I'll say, okay, what does it mean to install it from Git, or how do I do the updates from Git instead of using the release? Good question. So does anybody else have any other, another person going back to the microphone, any other ideas or ways that you can see this being used?
What what types of subject taxonomy models does SubjectsPlus support for the guides, if any? That is there support for broader, narrower, parallel terms, or are they all just a flat list of terms you put as guide references?
So I think it's pretty flat. You can create different. You can organize and have different types of guides. So I think out of the box we have subject guides, course guides, and topic guides. So you can tell it what type of guide it is, so that it shows up on the guide listing in that kind of organization system. Does that answer your question?
But it's nothing about one course being related to another, or one guide being related to another in some. So
the way you can, when you're creating resources, you can link those to particular guides, but it is just a pretty flat, like you tell it goes with this guide, and you can put as many guides, link it to as many guides as it applies to. And then that way, you've got a pluslet when you're in that guide to display all resources that have been linked to it. So that's a way to dynamically bring content when you're creating an e-resource. If you want to go ahead and assign it to a particular guide, that's a way to bring it over like that. There's also a way with the frequently asked questions where you can set those to apply to different guides. But it's very flat. They're not tags or anything where it would attach to multiple guides. Does that answer your question?
One more thing, in your presentation you mentioned issues about installation and upgrading. You said something about installation. What about upgrading the falls?
Right.
You said it doesn't always work, or whatever you said.
So so I think the installer, the actual installer in the software is something that the developers are working on to make it a little bit smoother. Sometimes with upgrades, you just I think where I am right now with the upgrade that I'm going to be doing in December, it's going to be a matter of grabbing files, like newer versions of files, and bringing them straight into my installation and not using an installer or an updater.
So, if you did use an installer or updater, what would be the consequence?
It mostly works. I can't guarantee that it works because everybody's server situation is different. And I mean, I do know that there are always, for me, there are always little hiccups that you have to overcome. So I wasn't prepared to talk about all of the different hiccups that I've experienced over the years with this, but it's just more of a disclaimer, be prepared.
Yes. So I'm pretty excited about this. This looks like it could be the solution that we're looking for, and I know that you're wanting brainstorming ideas, but I think it's hard for us because we haven't seen it really in action, and I don't know if we have time to see like what it looks like live, or if that's something that you'd like want to look at later. Or...
I'd be happy to show you, or to set up a time to do like a video conference screen sharing thing where I can show you what's on the back end of it. I think I'm supposed to be done at 9:45 and it's 9:43. So
Okay, thanks very much for your presentation. We're looking forward to implementing SubjectsPlus within the next few months at our own institution, so this was super helpful.
Awesome.
I'll confess I'm a bit of an intruder. I'm at an evergreen library, not a Koha library. One of the integrations that we've been really wanting to do that hasn't quite materialized for us is new books sorted out by discipline so that your guides have all the newest books in this discipline. I'm wondering if you found a good way to do that.
So for me, I think the best way to do that would be using the RSS with a search. So if you can, in Koha, you can get your search parameters set, and we put our new books in a special new books section for the first 3 months that we have them. So, my search string would be to, limit it by subject headings, and then new book, the new book location, and then maybe have it sort by acquisition date, and then have it display the 5 or 10 top results. And so, and once I get that search string put together, I can then grab the RSS feed from Koha, put that in the RSS Pluslet in SubjectsPlus, and so that would always, every time that guide would load, it would re-execute that search to display the feed from it. So it would always have the 5 or 10 most recent new books in that subject heading.
Thank you.
So if you have any other questions or further thoughts about this, here's my information. You can find me at Lancaster Theological Seminary. I've also put these slides up on my blog, which is mission-information.org. And I think the slides will also be up on the KohaCon website soon as well. Thank you very much.